We are one step closer to getting to the golf course. It's time to think about what your first set would look like and what I would recommend. First thing to be very sure that you have is make sure you have hickories. A magnet here will show you that some of these that might look like beautiful heads on that, they might look like wood, but no, that is made of metal. When they first introduced steel shafts, the story goes that everyone was quite freaked out by having steel shafts, so they need them to they wrapped them to make them look like hickories. Then we can actually get onto, once you've ascertained that you have actually got some wooden shafts, let's start talking about the clubs you'll need. Easiest, obviously, a putter. Probably you'll find a lot like this, just a very classic looking blade, very simple thing. It's got a straight face, it's got a stick on the end of it. That will get you started. There's plenty of other things we can look at, but for now, find yourself a putter that can work, and then away you go. Moving up the bag, this is probably the first sort of problem club for people, is the niblick. The niblick is the wedge, it's the most lofted club in the bag. As you can see there, that's got a heck of an edge on it. That really does. There's not a lot going for that club, and a lot of the niblicks you'll find look like these. They're lovely clubs to look at. They're beautiful rounded face, you know, that's gorgeous. But this is the one that people are going to struggle with a little bit, and we'll need to talk about bunkers in some detail because it's not very much not what people are used to. You can find some models of niblick that have got a bit more of a flange to them there. You can see that's got a little bit on the bottom. It's got nothing close to bounce. There's nothing close to being designed to actually hit it out of a bunker. But you could get lucky and find one of these. I got this very early in my hickory days, and it kind of brought me in quite sort of gently. You know, this is called a Maxwell. It's got the holes drilled through the shaft, and they've got a nice big flange on the bottom of them. But because they're quite more friendly, they're quite sought after, will probably be a little bit more money. Moving up the bag, if that's the sort of sand wedgie range, wedge or 9-iron, you've got a mashie niblick. So it sits between the mashie and the niblick in the bag. Again, these are so you can get some absolutely beautiful looking clubs here. Lovely to look down on, you know, great shaped faces and things. Yeah, there we go. That's the fella. Yeah, these are really proper mainstay of the bag. They're really useful and very easy to use. More in the 7-iron range, you're then talking about a mashie. That sort of sits in the middle of the bag. It's 7-iron-ish. Sometimes you find them 8-iron loft. You find loftier ones. Sometimes you find stronger ones, more like 6-irons. But that's going to be a solid bit for the middle of your bag. Yeah, you'll find great. You'll find lots and lots of mashies. Very popular clubs. Lovely to use and great for your set. Going a little bit longer, more in the sort of modern 5-4-iron type space. Will either be called a medium or a mid-iron. Again, same sort of profile to it, but that sort of loft, you know, just a little bit stronger, flatter lie, longer shaft. It's just a slightly longer club. This is probably again, incredibly useful. You can get all sorts of different yardages out of these. Yeah, they're really lovely clubs, and something like that will really suit you. You find one that suits you, and that's a great bit of your bag. Now, the second real trouble bit is finding a wood. Not a driver. Don't start with a driver. Find something that's going to have a little bit more loft on it, like a brassy. They're called brassies or spoons. You can see there it's got a little bit of loft on it. Normally called brassy or spoon because they've got big brass plates on the bottom of them. This one's got a slightly smaller plate and a bit of horn on the edge there. Yeah, you'll be very lucky to find one like this. This can be a real labour of love. This has got a big head on it. It's a really useful playable club. It took me a very long time to find a brassy that I really liked. But once you find one, again, that's going to be a great thing in your bag. And then we'll get on the course and work out when and how you can play it. Drivers do exist, but they're generally meant for driving. As in for driving low into the wind, not for use of every single tee. They're not they wouldn't have been used in the same way that modern drivers would be. There's very little loft. They're very difficult to play. Normally quite shallow faces because it was meant to just drive it low and drive it downwards. If you can play it, great. There's a sort of, you can find them that slightly deeper faces, slightly more playable, but again, very difficult to come by. You're going to be grateful for getting it up in the air. You're going to be grateful for keeping it in play. So the generally recommendation is stick with a brassy or a spoon and work your way up to a driver. That being said, you may want to look at some sort of driving iron, some sort of longer iron. A driving iron, these will be called driving irons or cleeks. They're the sort of things that'll get the ball going forward. It is an iron. This one's got a really lovely shallow face. I used this for a very long time. And again, because I couldn't really find a wood I liked for the first few years, I used this off the tee a lot. Sometimes you've got to play it twice into long par fours, but you'll be in play, you get it going forward. You know, they are really, really lovely clubs to use. If you can find a good one, you can find, again, otherwise, long irons are difficult to hit, and they have been ever since golf was invented. But find a nice one, and that can get you out of all sorts of problems and take the pressure off having to find that wood that you're going to hit every single time. It's also worth mentioning that you're going to see a lot of variety. You're going to see a lot of differences between the clubs. All the ones there are stainless, which is slightly later form of manufacturer. You know, they've all dot punched faces. They all have the little dimples on them. That's just my personal preference, that I like those clubs, and I made a set with them. You can also find the rusty ones. You'll get the slightly earlier versions. This one's completely smooth face. You'll find grooves, you'll find cross hatching, you'll find all kinds of crazy things. So there's just a lot of variety out there, a lot of sort of difference and variety to embrace, and eventually you'll just find what you like and find your favourite if you do choose to start collecting and building your set from there. But hopefully that's given you an idea of the kind of things I would recommend you get in your bag. Working up from the putter, important to get that niblick to get you out of trouble. The mashie niblick and the mashie form the bottom of your sort of short irons. You know, that's your playable clubs, that's going into greens. And then finding a medium iron you like. The wood could prove difficult, but again, there are some other specialty woods we can look at. For now, I'd say that's probably the best thing that I would recommend.